Fox Sports analyst, 5 years as an NFL head coach, Cleveland and the Jets, 3 rings, obviously with the New England Patriots, and his vacation house at an undisclosed location also due to the Patriots. We were talking about kind of the construct of an organization that you know well, the Niners. And I said, okay, they paid Kittle and McCaffrey and Trent Williams and Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw and Debo. And I do believe that Debo and McCaffrey and Kyle are the cake to that offense, and Trent. Aiyuk's just really talented. He's a little bit of the icing. They also draft 2 receivers. So my take here is they're not paying everybody. I kind of feel like they're willing to move off Aiyuk. And now that he's loud, you tell me, the Niners, when a receiver is talented, has a market, and you're kind of deep in that space, I think Aiyuk's getting moved. I'm on an island. Do you think it's possible?
I definitely think it's possible, especially as a receiver gets loud. And from an organizational standpoint, you got to figure out how good Brock Purdy is. And you don't want to lose a guy like Aiyuk and all his production, and especially in a situation like they are now where they have a chance to win the Super Bowl. But on the same token, chemistry is important. And if you've got a guy who's a malcontent, who's going to be disruptive, who's problematic, that can create a ton of distractions that you don't need. And it looked like organizationally they anticipated being in this situation, because why else do you go draft a receiver in the first round? Like you said, they drafted 2 receivers overall. So I think that they were planning for contingencies. And from a big picture standpoint, let's see how good Brock Purdy is. He's got a talented group. He should be able to continue to grow, and they got to figure that out.
So I would never want hard knocks. I wouldn't mind it as a player, but I wouldn't want it as a coach, and I would not want it as a GM. And there have been a couple moments where I see Mara and Joe Shane, and I got to tell you, it makes me uncomfortable, and I'm not employed by the team. I don't like how it comes off for Joe Shane. I'm watching it, and I'm like, oh, this is painful. What do you make of the access they gave the NFL, or the NFL forced them to give?
Terrible. It would be terrible to be in that situation. And you don't know what conversations they cut out. You don't know most of the backstory. You're at the mercy of the editor and what they find interesting. And now all of your discussions and reactions are available to be placed out into the ethos during a time when the fan base should be the most excited. This is the time of year where everybody's getting ready for what the possibilities are. And if your team is coming off as negative at this point, how could any owner be excited about doing that moving forward?
Yeah. You know Belichick as well as anybody that's not currently on his staff. He did not have much of a job market. I think when you look at how good Houston's roster is in 3.5 years with Nick Caserio, who was in New England, either Nick Caserio got on a plane to Houston and became brilliant, or Belichick took over a lot of the personnel moves in those drafts, because New England had, in Casario's last 3 or 4 years there, bad drafts. And my take is Houston's emergence is a bad look for Belichick. And that people look around and go, how come New England's roster is so bad? Casario's, he's literally had 3 straight good drafts. Outside of missing maybe on an O-lineman, his free agent decisions have been excellent, Eric. I think Bill, the coach, will get offers. Do you believe he's capable of saying, I'm not going to deal with any of the personnel?
It's interesting because at this point, what's he, 13 wins away from Don Shula's record. So if he really wants a chance to chase that, he's going to have to be willing to say that. The difficult part about that is which GM is going to have the strength to stand up to Bill and to stand up to him consistently and to say, no, this player is better for your vision than the player that you like. And is Bill going to be able to take a step back and accept that? Now, maybe Dallas is the best place for Bill because the GM is the owner, and that's one person that you can't push back against. And he was able to make it work with Bill Parcells, so maybe he can make it work with Bill Belichick, and that dynamic is probably the type of dynamic you need, as opposed to an owner who's either not involved, who's not that familiar with football, who's a new owner. Though that can be a lot trickier, because it's just going to be hard for any GM to take that position of I know better than you.
So I make my pre-camp NFL predictions, and I get one or two more runs at this. Somebody's going to get hurt. 60 quarterbacks played last year. But I basically went, with very few exceptions, in the AFC with the best quarterbacks. I went Bills, Chiefs, Ravens, Texans, Bengals, Chargers, Jags. I like the coaches and the quarterbacks. Burrow's health concerns me, but if he's standing up, I'll go with it. Also, Trevor Lawrence is healthy, and Justin Herbert has what I consider an elite coach. In the NFC, I go Eagles, Falcons, Lions, Rams, Niners, Commanders, Packers. I throw the Commanders in there because I think they're my Houston. They get the number 2 quarterback, who I think on weekends will look like the number 1 quarterback. I like Kingsbury, the play caller, and Dan, the coach, and new ownership. So that's my big swing. I've got 5 new playoff teams. The NFL average is closer to 7 every year, so I'm a bit shy. Does anything there seem like a reach or too predictable? What do you make of my list?
Well, I like the Browns more than you do, and I like them because of where they are defensively, and then you add the fact that Mike Vrabel's come in and he's been helping out, and I think they've made some improvements defensively as well. We know that they're a little bit at the mercy of where Deshaun Watson ends up being as a player, but that defense and the way that they found to win, through this Watson sort of debacle has been impressive. So I would put them on the list. I think the Jets are interesting with Aaron Rodgers, and maybe we'll actually get to see what they hoped and what I think they could do in a division that I don't think is as strong as a lot of people think it is.
Okay.
On the flip side, I like the Commanders. I like Dan. I like the quarterback a lot. I think that makes sense. But the Bears should be loaded offensively. And if Caleb can give some of those wild plays that we saw over and over in college with the skill players that are around him, they should be hard to handle offensively. And then I really like that Matt took over the defense and what the defense did in the later part of the year. And as long as he maintains control of that defense, I think the Bears could easily make the playoffs and then could potentially win the division.
But it's interesting. Matt Eberflus goes into the season on a bit of a hot seat. So does McCarthy. I think those two. Sean McDermott maybe a little, but not as much. You went into a season before. You've been there around Thanksgiving when you start hearing about, what's the future of the staff. How does that affect? I mean, with a rookie quarterback, a coach in the hot seat, if you start 1-4, in your experience, Cleveland Jets, can that affect performance when you're reading stuff in the paper? Because some of these hot seat teams, they got young quarterbacks. They got questions on personnel. What do you make of that?
I think it depends on the character of the locker room, and it's easy when you're winning and all the stars are willing to play hard and do what's expected from a game plan perspective when things are good. It's when things are hard that if you've got a high character locker room, typically those guys take a step back, look at themselves, try to figure out what they can do better, bond together, and can dig out of that hole. If you've got the other group, everybody's looking for a life raft. Everybody's looking for a way out. I remember when I was in Cleveland back in '95, when we were supposed to go to the Super Bowl, they announced the move. Yeah, things don't go as well as they should have. We had a really talented team, but we didn't have the highest character locker room, and that pulled everything apart as opposed to guys bonding together and achieving what the potential was.
Eric Mangini, he told me this is the last day of his vacation. And now
it is heading back to Ohio, Colin.
Well, Browns, Ohio State, Cleveland, there's I know you love it there. You could have left. You love it there.
It is a lovely place. There are a lot of Wonderful people there.
All right.
But I kind of like where I am right now.
Yes, I know where you are, and I like it there too. Great seeing you as always, Coach. Hi, everybody. It's me, Uncle Colin. Subscribe here to get the latest from the herd, including exclusive behind-the-scenes videos and more, wherever you may be, however you may be watching. Thanks again for making us part of your day.